Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. No, not the new movie. The Xbox Arcade and PSN title with a reputation that may rival its film counterpart, but in this video game court, it's innocent until proven guilty. Court is now in session for a radical episode of Innocent Until Proven Guilty. Summer blockbuster season is in full effect, and there's no better time to take a look at some licensed tie-ins. Earlier this year, I condemned Superman 64 for its offenses, and now I'm gonna bring the Heroes in a Half Shell to trial. The Turtles have had a fantastic track record when it comes to games, but there have been a few that are considered to be stinkers, and one of them just so happens to share the name of the recently released movie. Without further ado, here's the TMNT adventure that has zero involvement from Michael Bay, Out of the Shadows. Out of the Shadows was distributed as a digital download for the Xbox 360 and Steam on August 28, 2013, as well as the PlayStation 3 on April 15, 2014. It was developed by Redfly Studio and published by Activision, one of the most hated companies in the industry, yet in spite of its questionable pedigree, Out of the Shadows kicks into gear on a high note. Yes, your ears aren't deceiving you. That really is Turtle Power by Partners in Crime from the 1990 live-action feature. Not only that, but the fierce foursome is depicted in their iconic pose from the cover of the first Mirage comic that gave birth to a cultural phenomenon. Out of the Shadows offers a variety of options, including a practice mode and arcade survival simulator, but the main attraction is the story. Out of the Shadows begins unconventionally with the player assuming the role of April O'Neil as she makes her way through an obstacle course of explosions and debris after getting separated from the title stars. There are no enemies obstructing her path, so she doesn't have much to do except avoid being blown to bits or crushed, but it's still neat to be able to play as her, albeit briefly. Unfortunately, as April is about to be reunited with her friends, she gets kidnapped by a mysterious assailant.
April? April, you there?
The scene then transitions back a few hours prior to the incident as the groundwork is laid for the events that led up to it.
Not your best invention, Donnie. Not just the boot. What's in the boot? April's feet, normally.
Right, and I go like everywhere, so Donnie built these tiny transponders to keep track of everywhere I go in the city.
It'll help us map everywhere we've been running into bad guys. I like it. Nice work.
Apparently, the purple dragons are wreaking havoc on the streets, so Master Splinter's disciples have to squash the gang violence utilizing the tried and true beat-em-up formula with the addition of platforming and stealth elements. In regards to the overall presentation, Out of the Shadows is surprisingly strong in this department. The visuals seamlessly flow back and forth between the brawling segments and the comic panel layout of the cutscenes, showcasing the redesign of the turtles that angered many traditionalists in spite of their personalities remaining intact.
Nothing. We're fine here. All quiet. Carry on.
Definitely no turtles here.
Okay. Well, we can't let anyone interfere with this operation.
No, sir. We sure can't.
Similarly intact are the villains, with the Shredder ruling over the roost as usual. He's accompanied in his evil deeds by countless Purple Dragon foot soldiers and Krang, along with boss characters Karai and Baxter Stockman, making this Nickelodeon cartoon adaptation appeal to both veterans and newcomers to the franchise. Out of the Shadows feels simultaneously modern and retro, as the voice cast and dialogue capture the spirit of the original series, while the classic Partners in Crime title screen track meshes well with the contemporary sounding yet killer music heard throughout. The Gleek compositions helmed by Tyler and Matt Pearsall set a dark urban tone that perfectly complements the intense combat. My personal favorite is the Raphael theme that is repeated across the 4 chapters of the story, but the rest are equally top notch, and I applaud the Pearsalls for their awesome jams. Speaking of awesome, the solid gameplay and controls offer much more than your average beat 'em up. There are 2 main attacks, a kick and a melee weapon strike, which are performed performed on the PS3 via the triangle and square buttons respectively. The buttons can be chained together in signature brawling fashion to produce combos, and holding R2 and square upon reaching a 10-hit combo will result in a turtle power KO. These finishing moves eliminate foes with brutal force, and the brothers can take it a step further by uniting their efforts for a team KO. The KOs and other attributes are accessed in the stats section of the pause menu by spending ability points, which are earned in an RPG-esque manner upon leveling up. The ability points are limited and are shared among the protagonists, who can be switched on the fly by pressing the D-pad, so strategy is required to determine the best skills to emphasize. In addition to the KOs and standard attacks, there are supplementary items that are placed around each level, such as shurikens, grenades, and life-replenishing pizzas, which can be cycled through and activated by pressing L2 followed by L1. There are two final attack possibilities, the special maneuvers and the stealth KOs. The special maneuvers are performed by holding R2 and twirling the right analog stick around in quarter circles. These are supposed to be powerful, but I barely use them since they felt awkward to pull off. The stealth KO, on the other hand, incapacitates enemies with minimal fuss by sneaking up quietly behind them and pressing square. The stealth KOs are a nice touch and one of the unique aspects that sets Out of the Shadows apart from the rest of the titles in the franchise, but surprisingly enough, Red Fly had one more puzzle-solving trick up their sleeves. The Ninja Warriors will occasionally encounter locked doors that impede their progress, and the only way to bypass them is to hack into terminals that allow them to connect multicolored symbols such as sais, bow staffs, and katanas along a maze grid before the timer runs out. The puzzles will become increasingly complex the closer we get to the conclusion, and mistakes will inevitably be made. There's no need to worry about this happening, as you can just quit and restart without receiving a penalty until you have the solution. As our heroes continue to pursue and bust up the Purple Dragon and Foot Clan activity across the city, the details of the plot fall into place. The Shredder is fed up with his nemesis, and he has a secret weapon in development with Stockman and the Krang that will eradicate them once and for all. The first chapter leads them into the subway, where they fight Karai atop a speeding train before losing the trail and returning to the sewer. They discover that their home has been infested by mousers, literally waves and waves of them, and the gigantic Cerberus Mouser is waiting at the end to tear them limb from limb. The Cerberus Mouser has 3 snapping heads that have to be turned into scrap metal, and the only way to make it vulnerable is to disable the 4 power cells on its torso and legs. Sounds simple enough, but it's anything but. To put it lightly, the Cerberus Mouser is a huge pain in the ass, and I almost quit after spending hours and hours trying to defeat it, but I eventually had a great run where I was able to revive my deceased comrades to assist me with taking the bastard down. Baxter flies away after his creation is destroyed.
You turtles haven't seen the last of me!
And the narrative comes full circle as it's revealed that April has been kidnapped.
April, you there? April? April, you there?
Leo is at a loss for what to do next when Donnie has a sudden epiphany.
Ask yourself, what are your next steps?
I have no idea.
Steps? Steps!
What?
That's it! We can track her steps!
We found her phone, Donnie.
Oh, you beautiful boot.
With their confidence renewed, the team follows the tracking device's signal to the rooftops and into spoiler territory. As our heroes descend further up to the unfinished construction site, Karai will make one last stand by dropping bombs and being a general nuisance. Karai can be pretty tough, but with a little patience, I was able to knock her into oblivion and crash the party at Shredder's lair. The lifelong adversaries fiercely trade blows after dispatching his henchmen until their battle is interrupted by a call about his secret weapon.
Lord Shredder, we're making progress. You need to see this.
Very well.
I'm done wasting time with these mutants.
April is trapped in a cell behind 2 locked doors, and she informs her rescuers about the Shredder's scheme. With O'Neill safe, the protagonists travel through the tunnel for the final confrontation at the Krang base. Besides the dreaded Cerberus Mouser, the Krang base offers the biggest challenge yet, with nearly limitless swarms of the pink aliens provided by the Dimensional Rift. Naturally, the main objective of the stage is to decommission the rift by smashing the generators that fuel it. Once this is accomplished, it's time for the epic showdown with old Shredhead.
Turtles, you interfere in my business for the last time. Today, you meet your end.
The Fiend has bulked up substantially since the previous encounter, and his helmet is now fused with Krang technology that gives him nigh invulnerable superpowers. Luckily for us, the EMP grenade completely neutralizes Shredder's defenses, and he's rendered as harmless as a kitten. The quartet revels in their victory.
All over the place. It was terrible. Oh, and then Shredder started throwing rocks at everyone.
Throwing rocks? That doesn't sound so bad.
They were really big rocks.
Were they ever? One of them pretty much squished Donnie, but I was like, yoink, and saved him.
Hey, that didn't happen.
Totally did. And all the Krang bots had laser guns, and Shredder was flying.
But the Shredder and Krang remain at large and plan to seek revenge.
Last time! Do you hear me? Do you hear me, Turtles?
Setting the stage for a sequel which will probably never happen.
We must observe Shredder, and our plans must not be disrupted by him or by these turtles.
From the nostalgia-inducing intro to the intense brawling action, Out of the Shadows had the potential to be a massive success, yet it left many fans in utter disappointment. Did Activision and Redfly Studio truly drop the ball, or is this a misunderstood gem? Let's find out in the breakdown! Out of the Shadows should have been a modern TMNT title in the vein of the Konami masterpieces, but Activision and Redfly felt the need to deviate from the proven formula, and while it was a valiant effort, they ultimately mucked it up. The visuals are bland and dreary, the frame rate frequently stutters, and the dialogue is uber cheesy. As for the redesigns, in the immortal words of Mike Stoklasa as Harry S. Plinkett, "Oh my god, what's wrong with your face?" Enough said.
Everywhere we've been running into bad guys. I like it. Nice work.
I can also track my daily mileage, so that's cool.
I will admit, that is cool.
Out of the Shadows may be different from its 8 and 16-bit predecessors, but that's not a bad thing. If the Golden Age Konami still retained the license, I think their current product would resemble this. The story is satisfying with an excellent blend of classic combat, stealth, and puzzle solving. The visuals are fittingly dark and remind me of the Mirage comics, and the music is an adrenaline-packed punch to the skull that I loved every minute of. Speaking of the comics, there's the classic option that removes the color and a code that changes Mikey, Don, and Leo's headbands to red. How cool is that? Out of the Shadows does not deserve the hate, and it should be pardoned for crimes it did not commit. In the case of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, I rule that the verdict is innocent! Yes, just like Reshelled before it, I'm giving Out of the Shadows a pass. I'm sure it was obvious from my gushing during the breakdown, but I love everything about this Redfly Studio and Activision collaboration, with the exception of the Cerberus Mouser. Baxter's bastard child can go to hell as far as I'm concerned, but that is one minor annoyance in an otherwise amazing game, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Anyway, now that justice has been rightfully served, I have a special LJN Defender episode in the works. be sure to come back for that. But until then, I've got to get my groove on. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, click any of the boxes on the screen right now and you'll be able to watch a few more of my videos. And if you haven't already, be sure to click that red box right there in the corner and that'll subscribe to the channel and you'll be able to keep up to date with all of my current content. Thanks again, everyone.